want to thank all of you for coming out this evening and allowing us to share with you a very important project. This journey began about 9 months ago, where my ministry class was asked to come up with an innovative idea that would benefit our community. This process involved finding and shaping the story, living the story, and telling and celebrating the story. In this presentation, we are telling and celebrating the story. With any journey, it's important that God is at the center. In this regard, I would like to share about a very special relationship that God has with His Son and the Holy Spirit. This relationship is referred to as perichoresis. Perichoresis, according to George Cletus in his book called Leading the Team-Based Church, displays the perfect harmony between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. As with them, everything that we do must embrace the same harmony. If you think about it, everything that we do should involve at least these three persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. A capstone project, the process of creating the Grass Food Pantry. This capstone project is submitted to Professor Joseph Cookson in partial fulfillment of the requirements for a degree of Master of Ministry at Warner University, Lake Wales, Florida. I have an outline, and the outline is as such: receiving instructions, forming the team, training the team, marketing research, the process of design thinking, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, creating the pantry, profiles of the LMT, our sponsors, and conclusion. In February of 2016, I attended a Service Innovators in Orlando, Florida, where I met with my professor and fellow classmates to receive instructions on how to proceed with our project. This occasion was a great opportunity to personally meet Professor Cookson and the other students. We had a wonderful time of learning and fellowship. I go on to forming the team. Upon returning to Bermuda, I formed a team to work with me, which I will refer to as my LMT. Members of my team were chosen for their expertise in specific areas of ministry. The team members are Dr. Evangelist Isilda White, Sister Alfreda Rochester, Brother Mikhail Bremer, Missionary Sonera Phillips, Akil Darrell, and Brother Armando Figueroa. I also recruited volunteers, Missionary Dorothy Burchell, Sister Cynthia Phillips, and Deacon Cleo Burchell. Once this team was assembled, we set about having weekly meetings to discuss how to approach our goals. The team gelled very quickly, which helped to make this project very successful. I move on to training the team. During our training session, the team was introduced to concepts of design thinking. In these discussions, we examined the 5 stages of design thinking with a view to determining a viable solution to a concern in our community. At the conclusion of the training session, we then had a question and answer session. I move on to the marketing research. I then moved on to hold a marketing research session with the LMT. In this session, we discussed procedures to assist us in identifying our target community and what we would do for that community. It was agreed that Isilda would do interviews, Armando, Sonera, and Mikhail would do surveys, and Akil offered to do direct observation of our church. On completion of the marketing research, we have another meeting to discuss the results with a view to defining our vision and deciding on our target group. I want to share a little bit about how the process of design thinking was used to create the Grass Food Pantry. Design thinking was popularized by the Silicon Valley design firm IDEO, and its applicability to a wide range of challenges and solutions is presented in IDEO founder Tim Brown's book, Change by Design. Design thinkers strive to balance what is described from a user's point of view with what is feasible with technology. The general overview of design thinking begins to reveal a bit about the 5 principles behind the approach and the process that brings them to life. The first stage of design thinking is empathize. In this stage, the author suggests that the best designs are human-centered. Putting human beings at the center of the process helps us create and maintain humanity as we innovate and move forward. In this stage, the LMT agreed that our concern would involve children. As we know that we would like to do something with feeding people, thus we decided to call our initiative GRASP. GRASP is giving respectful attention to special people. The second stage of design thinking is define. In this stage, the problem is the foundation to the design. Starting with the right question is everything. We therefore held meetings to frame the problem. Through various discussions, we successfully identified the following concern. And the concern is, a major concern in our community surrounding our church is that some families do not have sufficient food for their children. Once we successfully identified this concern, we moved on to the third stage, which involved a brainstorming session. In this session, we held a major meeting to answer the above questions: what, when, where, who, and how. Once these questions were answered, we were able to agree on a target community and what we would do for them. What? We would create a food pantry. Who? We would feed the needy families. When? In or about August 2016. Where? Rehoboth Church. How? With the help of wholesalers and private donors. I'll go back to what. In our brainstorming session, we came up with some ideas of what. Who would supply non-perishable goods for the pantry? We would prepare boxes, create packages with unique items which can be used for multiple meals and customized for recipients. We also concluded that we would put recipe cards to go with the ingredients. Who? Now this is all in our brainstorming session. Who? There were 5 suggestions. We should perform a community survey to determine who has the greatest need. Another suggestion was that we create a community profile and determine criterion for vetting. Another suggestion was ask schools and other churches for some insight. Establish a recommendation process through which those in need can be recommended if they do not know of our purpose or if they feel embarrassed to ask. Another point that was raised was potential community survey question. If you can receive a food package, what would you like for it to contain? This can help to determine how to customize the boxes. We're still in our brainstorming session. I look at the where. Where was this going to take place? This was going to take place in Bermuda, in the community of Warwick Parish, which is located in Cairo Pass, Warwick, Bermuda. We have also at Rehoboth Church, we had identified at least 4 storerooms at the church which we could potentially use for our endeavor. When was this going to happen? And how long was it going to take? This was going to happen in August 2016, and we have been working on it since January, and we had a 16-week program that we were going through, and we were following each step of the way. So when was very important because we wanted to be sure that we met our target, and we met it on time. And the pantry itself was going to run once a month for those who had a need, and if there was a special need, we would accommodate them. How were we going to do this? how were we going to raise the money, or how were we going to get the food? Some suggestions were sponsorships, wholesalers. We asked the supermarket in Hamilton, who donated. We asked the Hunt's Food Warehouse, and they graciously donated. Our suggestion was we do fundraisers, target schools for grub days. We could have a food drop box at other churches in Warwick, and of course, private donations. So, but once a month, we would undertake this project. The boxes themselves that we had intended doing would contain, aside from food, we wanted the vision and mission of the church and other tools such as pamphlets on baptism and how to be saved. That was the extent of our brainstorming session, and that would have been the second stage. And we're going on to the prototype stage, the fourth stage. In this stage, we had to get together sample boxes of the food that we wanted. And we were blessed enough to have more than enough food to fill the boxes with the help of the wholesalers and private donations. The LMT and volunteers were able to fill 5 boxes of food for 5 needy families. And you see the boxes that we presented. Each one, they may look the same, but they're 5 different boxes. Well, it's 4 shown there, but there was a 5th one that was displayed. And in our marketing research, going back to that, we determined who we would donate these boxes to. And we came up with 5 people in the Warwick community. And that stage is called the testing stage. The prototype was getting the food together. The testing stage was actually getting the food out to the recipients. And the 5 people that we have, we took the Sunday afternoon after service, the LMT and the volunteers packed the boxes and delivered the boxes. The first box was taken to the lady across the street. She's a single mother, and she had 3 young children that needed the food. The second box was with Sister Shandy. She was receiving food on behalf of a niece and a nephew. The third box was given to, I would refer to her as a diabetic recipient. We geared her box that she would have food stuff in it that would cater to her diabetic condition. And the 4th box was given to a bedridden person. We geared his box that it would be applicable to his condition also. We just didn't want to put random stuff in boxes. We wanted to make sure that the menus were appropriate for the persons that were receiving them. The 5th box was given to a single father with a son, and that is the picture of them. They were really, really very excited. All recipients were extremely excited about receiving their boxes. That there encompasses the 5 stages of design thinking. That is the process that we use to get to the point of handing out the boxes. And that would have been the ideate, the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and testing. We went through all 5 stages to fulfill the requirements of this project. And it was very interesting, and I think we learned quite a bit from doing it. But now I want to share with you the team that worked with me. Dr. White. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here tonight because she's gone back home to Jamaica. But her responsibility would have been, as a teacher in the school system, she would have trained the community in the area of purchasing food, budgeting, and understanding food labels. Sometimes we take food labels for granted. It's important to know what food labeling is about. And that's what she would have done for us as a member of the LMT. The next person in the LMT is Brother Armando, who is a chef. As you can see, the pictures are there. Brother Armando, his responsibility as a chef would have been to be mindful of nutritional menus. And he, in fact, created the menus, and we just tweaked them. And we put them in a brochure. And each box contained a brochure of their personal menus. And he would have ensured that we had balanced meals, creating menus, and gathering recipes, provided that we continue this project further than the requirements of this class. The other person, which is our videographer right now, his responsibility as a member of the LMT, Brother McCall, would be technologist. And he would have been responsible for photography, advertising, and videography, which he is doing so brilliantly right now. So I'm grateful for that. The next person is our sister Sanara, who her responsibility would have been fundraising. She has been our secretary, taking notes at every meeting that we had, and I have the whole stack of them. And I'm grateful that some were typed and some were handwritten, but she kept excellent notes, which allowed me a great opportunity to do my reporting from her notes. And also she's very artistic in the event that the project goes beyond this presentation and we need further brochures. She will be the one responsible for designing them, and she has the technical expertise to do that, along with fundraising. And I'm going to ask her if she will come now while we're talking about her and just give her testimony about how this project impacted her as we were going through it.
Good evening. My testimony here is that when I was in college, I didn't struggle for food, but there were days where I found that I needed a little bit more to be able to get me to the next day. And I had a friend who always missed class because she was either working or studying, and so I always helped her to study so that I could ensure that she passed the class with me. And in return, she always ended up feeding me, which I was grateful for. And if there were days that she didn't have any food, I fed her. So reflecting back on that memory and then also looking at this project, it has basically allowed me to have a deeper appreciation for what it means to be on both sides of the equation, whether it be providing food for someone who needs it or also being the person who needs the food at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanara, for sharing your testimony. And I'm going to ask Sister Alfreda, who would be responsible for administration, liaising with the suppliers, and also the treasurer of the GRASP Food Pantry. I'm going to ask her if she will come up and share her testimony as we went through this project and how the fact that we settled on the concern of food and how it did affect each and every one of us.
Good evening. My experience is that growing up, my grandmother was the go-to person in my neighborhood. When people didn't have food, they always came to her. She didn't have much, but she made sure she shared it and took care of people, and that's where I got my experience with giving food to people and helping people out when they're in need.
Thank you, Sister Alfreda, for your testimony. As you can see, we all have had experiences with food, and it has impacted our lives in different ways, but it's given us a desire and a passion to help people with food. The next member of the LMT is Akil, and I'm going to ask if he will come up and share his testimony. And his responsibility would be to organize the pantry, organizing and maintaining the pantry, checking food items for expiration dates, and delivery of food to the recipients.
Good evening, boys and girls of all ages. My testimony is that I grew up, I wasn't too rich, I never had no money to, but I was always a giver. I like to give to people, and through this process, I saw the smiles and the joy that we got of just giving these people food and everything, and just by that testimony, it touched my heart. And also because I would do a Friday night and we feed the children, so it just helped push me even more to help our people. Thank you. Thank
you, Akil, for your testimony. As you can see from the presentation, each and every one of us has been impacted some way in the area of food, whether we had enough or whether we did not have enough. But that's what's given us the passion for this program, and I believe that's why the program was so successful. And I would also like to acknowledge our sponsors and volunteers. As I said, missionary Dorothy Burchell was a very helpful volunteer who literally purchased and collected the food for us. Brother Cleo, who helped us to identify the space for the food, cleaning it out, and Sister Cynthia, who was our liaison at the supermarket, who arranged for us to receive food from them. So I'm grateful for their contribution towards this project. Our objective is to help needy families in this community, and with the help of God, we can do our part by helping to keep our children healthy. Healthy children will turn out to be healthy adults. So let us continue to do our part. As Jesus showed compassion to those who followed him by feeding them, we can be more like him if we do the same. And we have an overhead of healthy children. Help us feed the hungry. This is an appeal to you who are listening to this project, that there's a genuine need worldwide, not just in Bermuda, worldwide, to feed children. Our pantry needs your yearly donations of food. I ask you to support the pantry with a contribution during the yearly food pantry drive, and if you can, donate at least $100, which will help us to buy at least 3 bags of food. So I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank our sponsors, the Butterfield and Vallis, the Supermarket, Hunt's Food Limited, New Nehemiah Church, and the Rehoboth Church for their contributions towards this project, which made it a very successful project. Thank you very, very much. And as I said from the outset, if you have any questions that you wish to ask, you're free to ask questions or make a comment. I would also ask Sister Shandy if she will give a testimony, because she did receive a box on behalf of one family. Can you stand where you are, Sister Shandy?
On behalf of the Birch family, we'd like to thank you all for the food box. The children were very excited for the goodies that they had gotten in. And thanks again.
Thank you, Shannon. Do you have any questions that you would like to? Yes.
I do.
Can you stand so we can?
Good evening. In regards to our Sister White's decision,
Yes.
and you mentioned about the labels.
Yes, food labels.
When you say the labels, did you mean that it identifies percentages of what's
Yes.
in them, and or would it have to do with, you mentioned it was a diabetic family, there were
Yes.
children, stuff like that. Like, basically, I'm asking about the nutrition, like when you're offering these
Yes.
these pamphlets.
Yes.
So in the event that anyone in church wanted to give, are there going to be a listing of specific things, seeing that you pack these pantries, these boxes already
Big menus, yes.
with menus? Should we want to reach out by giving? Is there something that we can read or see or know about so that we can give for that same, for the purpose of how you already packed the box?
Okay.
In other words, just don't bring anything,
Absolutely.
because I think that really makes a difference.
Yes, it does. In response to that question, which I do thank you for, this project was for this class. And now that the class is finished, our aim with the LMT is to decide whether we want to continue with the project. And we have been asked to consider continuing with it. And I would have to meet with the LMT to see if they will still support me, because they were so supportive over the 9-month period. If they're willing to continue with it, we will look at having it again, but then we would have to decide how often we would have it, and whether our donors are willing to continue to supply food because it gets very costly. But I'm willing to do it if I have the support to do it. And I do believe the LMT is willing to do it also. So I thank you for the question. And on the issue of labels, we also want to be sure that the food that is donated is not out of date. And also the nutritional value in the food. We just don't want to collect random items that some people are not going to use. That's why we created menus, and we purchased food specifically designed for the menu. Whatever the menu had, that's what we bought, right down to the onions. That they could cook a meal from that box. In fact, they could have 3 meals from the box. And we put snacks in it for the kids. So thank you. Are there any other questions?
Seeing when you gave food to these families, was there also any spiritual advice given to them also?
Thank you for that question. In our boxes, we created a brochure explaining the project, identifying the people in the project and what we were doing, and we included pamphlets on salvation and baptism. And we let them know that it was although it was my project for the school, for purposes of the school, we let them know that it is from the church also. But we did not have extensive conversations about religion. But we let they know that it came from the church. Because we had to be sensitive and discreet because we're helping people who are needy, and we didn't want to be seen to be overwhelming them or forcing our religion on them, because it was not about what we believe, it was about helping them.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm not questioning what the LMT have done. I am suggesting, and just haven't just heard the brochures that you put in the boxes. I keep on hearing that you've also made children very happy about putting snacks. Was there anything that you would have put in the box to enlighten the children? Because you're saying you're not forcing anything. I mean, education as far as religion, like a storybook in there for the child, or what's it, grace that could be said at the table. You know, just uplifting and enlightening. And if it hasn't been done, I'm just suggesting that might be a nice thing to do.
That could be.
You know, it's just a little perk, but it's a positive perk.
Yes.
You know, because like you said, that if you have healthy children, you have healthy adults.
Yes.
So if we just give a storybook or a song or a grace or something in the box in the near future, it would really be uplifting.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to join our team.
I just
That's an excellent suggestion, but for the purposes of what we were doing, our focus was food. And we were concerned not about toiletries, because we had a question about including toiletries in the boxes. And we said, no, our focus is feeding the people that need food. So we stopped, at this time, we just stopped with food and the pamphlets that we had here and the brochure. But if we continue, it's an option. But we were remaining true to the focus of the project. And I'm just thankful that it was so successful. And the follow-up meetings with the recipients, we got some excellent feedback. As one person said, when their children come home and find food, they are happy. So it makes our hearts happy that we were able to help these children come home and find food and have some food to eat. Sometimes I think we take it for granted when we have food and we're able to eat a meal, whether we want a meal or not. But some children do not have food and they suffer because of it. So we're thankful. And then we have a video of the bedridden man, and he was so grateful. In the follow-up meeting that I did with him, my heart was touched because he told my sister, I didn't know that Deborah loved me. And I've known him all my life. but just giving him that box made a difference to him. So this project has been transformational for me, with my testimony, how I came to have such passion for food. So it is, for me, it's been enlightening. And I think the LMT also experienced a similar transformation. I'm grateful for that. And yes.
I just want to ask a question. What does LNT stand for? And I just want to say that what do the people that you have given the food to, what do they have to, okay, how did you come about to go to these certain people? Is there something that they had to, I'm trying to see how to put it. There's
How do
something,
you choose them?
yeah, some way how you choose these people, these certain people to give the boxes to.
Well, we had a meeting, the LMT, the lay ministry team had a meeting, and certain names were given to us for consideration. And we looked at their situation and circumstance. And we saw the need. Each one that received the box had a need, and we supplied that need to the best of our ability. And we're grateful that we did. So in the future, we, in our meetings, we discussed about how people can be referred to the ministry if they have people that they know that are in need, they can refer to us. But we will put out a brochure or put out some information that, with contact information, how they can receive us. Because the brochure that we produced has our contact information. But that it all depends if we're going to go further with it. Thank you for the question. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add to the question that was asked previously. In the packages, you also included the mission statement
Yes.
and the program for the church that outline church services, Sunday school, Bible study, and whatever, to encourage people to come.
Yes. We did include a calendar of events. So I did forget that. We included a calendar of our events to encourage the recipients, if they could come, they would know what events we were having and what time the church started. And I must say that the lady with the kids, she did come and visit us, and she was tremendously grateful. Amen? Thank you. Oh, come on. Yeah.
In the event that you do continue on this project, will you continue to target one parish, this ward parish, or go to different other parishes?
Excellent question, staff. We are targeting the ward community because our church is in the ward community, and starting out, it's an overwhelming, believe it or not, it's a lot of work involved in doing it and a lot of expense. So at this time, we would stick with the ward community before we reach out to other communities. We have 16 churches in this community, and I'm a member of the Work Alliance, so I know these pastors, and I can make them aware that we have a feeding program. So it'll be more than enough. And even in our research, we found out that with another lady who gives up food, she says she's giving out, I think, something like 300 baskets of food a week to work community people. So it's a lot of people in the community who are in need of food. And we didn't duplicate what she's doing. We just added to it. But for the time being, we will stick with the work community. Any other questions? Anybody, you have a comment? I want to thank also Minister Marshall for lending us her video machine to videotape this. Thank you very much. I appreciate your coming.